Hi, I'm Tim Timmons. Diana and I are so regretful about not being able to be with you in these days. We were looking forward to coming to the DR and hanging out with you and getting to know you. It turned out that I went to the DR, the doctor, an emergency and that sort of thing, and found out that I probably have some kind of viral thing, but they didn't want me to go out of the country at this point. So we feel so sorry about that. We regret that, but we feel like it's in his hands and not ours. I thought what I might do, Wayne asked me to share a little video with you, and I thought what I might do is share with you what I was going to tell you and share with you if we'd have been there. And I'll do it quickly, so don't worry. In Matthew 5, 6, and 7, my favorite three chapters in the Bible, you find Jesus coming to a time where it's kind of like the first seminar he's ever had to give. And the question in their minds was, Jesus, how will your teaching, how will what you teach differ from what we've been taught? Now that was a pretty good question back then, and he answers it in these three chapters, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. It's a great passage for today as well. Jesus, how does your teaching differ from how I was taught as I grew up? Well, in Matthew 5, he starts out with the Beatitudes, and he gives a total counterintuitive approach to the lifestyle of righteousness, the lifestyle of following Jesus. Then he gets into this thing of salt and light. And he says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how will it be made salty again? You are the light of the world. And he goes on to say, you need to shine as a light in such a way that the world may see your good works and glorify your Father who's in heaven. Now notice he doesn't say you need to become the salt of the earth or you need to become the light of the world. He says you already are the salt of the earth. You already are the light of the world. Now salt was used as a preservative to counteract the decay in meat. And basically, in counteracting that decay, it just needed to be present. It needed to touch the meat. That's why the salt in the salt shaker doesn't help. It needs to get outside. It needed to be sensed. Salt needs to be sensed, touched. In the same way, if you're the salt of the earth, your presence in every meeting, in every classroom, in every board meeting, in every fellowship, there must be a sensing going on. If you know Jesus and he's part of your relationship, they will sense Jesus in you. It's something purifying about that. Not that you're holier than thou, but that you're real and you're attractive. Light, on the other hand, is not to be sensed. It needs to be seen. Now, this light doesn't need to be a bright light where we have a bright beam on people. I think that's offensive. Nor does it need to dim out. But it's a light that's counteracting the darkness in our world. And so you're shedding light on justice. You're shedding light on tragedy and difficulties. And you want to make things right. That's what Jesus would do. In a sense, these two roles are being Jesus in the world. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Now let your light shine. Let that salt be sensed and let that light be seen. He goes on and he tells some very interesting things about seeking the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And then he comes to an interesting place in Matthew chapter 7. I just want to end here with this. He says that in the last days, someone will come to him. People will come to him and say, we've spoken in your name, Jesus. We've cast out demons in your name. We've performed many miracles in your name. And Jesus says, I don't know who you are. And he goes on to say something that I think sums up this whole three chapters. He says, only those who do the will of my Father will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who do the will of my Father will enter the kingdom. Now, what does he mean by that? In the next paragraph, which is the last paragraph of Matthew 7, 5 through 7, he says it this way. He says, he who hears my words and practices them is like a wise man who builds his house upon a rock, and the rains and the floods and the storms come in against that house, and the house stands firm. A man who hears my words and doesn't practice them is like a foolish man who builds his house upon the sand. and the same rain and the same winds and the same floods come against that house, and great is its fall, it collapses. What Jesus is saying is to do the will of my Father is summed up like this: hear my words and practice them. Hear my words and practice them. You see, I don't think Jesus needs to have proof. I think Jesus needs to be practiced. Those two roles, salt and light, hearing his words and acting them out. That way you become a written Bible in yourself of who this Jesus is, right there in the Dominican Republic, in every board meeting, in every family gathering, in everything that you do. You'll touch them by being this Jesus. So listen to Jesus' words and practice them. It's not just a list to keep. It's a lifestyle to live. May God bless you in your time together, and hopefully we'll get back down there at another time and get to know you even better.